So, welcome everyone. Welcome to Rigged by Design. We are on episode number 28. This week, I'm doing something a little bit different. And so that reflects our title this week. Nice to see you, Stephen. That reflects our title this week. I just came up with it just a few seconds ago, and it's called Off the Cuff. And the reason why it's called Off the Cuff is I did not prepare any topics that we would be going over this week. Um, I did at one point wanted to discuss the what I would call the IEPs, which is individual um, educational placement. And what that does is that goes in place with at the schools as well as the 504s. But
Yep.
I really wanted to advertise that a little bit more. So I'm going to postpone that discussion until about 2 weeks right now. That will also give Jason an opportunity to kind of go over what we're going to be discussing on that particular point. And would be a very important topic to the disability community, as well the disabled community, as well as to parents who have children that are require the services of the state or the federal government. So I would like to postpone that topic until about 2 weeks. And the other thing is I did want to discuss is a couple of weeks ago, we were discussing a particular the Housing Bill, and I felt that it may not go through as law due to the fact that Trump did not sign it. Well, the good news is what? Even though Trump basically was holding the SAVE Act over the head, it was able to go through without much fanfare, but it is law right now. So I recommend everybody take a look at that bill and find out what's included within it. There is some good stuff in there that would benefit people who need housing. But one thing that is in there that really struck me was corporations. Corporations are no longer able to just buy up a whole bunch of property. They limit the number, and I think it's 250 or 350 houses, but they've limited the number, and that's actually good news. I wish they would decrease the number a little bit more, but they did limit the number. So I will put out the housing bill, the fine print into our notes, and everyone can take a look at that one. So that was passed on July the 11th.
To go to the flip side of that bill, uh, there's nothing in there that says that they can't create shell companies. And
Correct.
the number one part of that bill that would help people that are not, is lower manufactured home prices for, mobile homes, manufactured modular homes.
Yes,
And
correct.
that's it. But as far as there's a lot more that we can go into. I've done a little bit into it. And I've talked to a couple of the creators that have been following it that were realtors, and it's not what people, you know, it does a couple good things, but once again, we're in a
Everything's
place
bad.
where bipartisanship, right? We have this bipartisan bill, and
Mhm.
they're telling the people it's a good thing. We're limiting corporations. They can only have 250 homes. Only 250? Really? There's nothing in there that says those corporations can't break off into shell companies and buy another 250. So basically they're telling the people it's a good thing. It's a good thing. It's a great thing, but it's not. It could have been so much better.
Absolutely.
And this is
It
this,
could
this
have
is
been
our life.
it could have been so much better. Absolutely. It is really at the bare minimum at
Yep.
what it could be. Um, but it was something that was signed into law. I don't believe that Trump realized that it would be signed into law.
He doesn't
Yeah,
know the
so
Constitution. He
I
doesn't.
don't think that is I don't think he realized that this was
No.
something he thought this is just he thought, and which I believe is that if he held the SAVE Act over them, that he could get Mike Johnson and everybody to do that. He
But
did
didn't
not
they pass that this morning?
pass what?
The
No,
SAVE Act. Didn't they
no,
attach? They
no.
attached it to a funding bill.
Oh,
They tried to hide it and attach it to a funding bill.
yeah, I think I've read something that's what they were gonna do
I
about.
don't yeah, I don't think it'll pass the Senate, but the House did.
Yeah, let's hide it in a bill.
Yep, yep.
Let's
That
hide
ain't
it in a
you're
bill.
slick.
Just look at all the stuff that they did hide into the big ugly bill, which is
Yep.
lost, and which has been passed now for 1 year, and the atrocity continues to happen between, disabled folks, between, single parents, between, people are who deserve SNAP benefits are not getting them. So, there
And people aren't mad enough yet. Like, I'm just you know, I know, like, what our states are similar except for size, right? We both live in states where the cost of living is high, you know? We both live in I did a video on this today, if anybody goes and checks it out on my TikTok, about how mainstream media likes to call Michigan a or a purple state, swing state. And my argument on that is quite simple. When it comes to the state legislature, it's Republican because the days before social media, Republicans worked their ass off to gerrymander our state.
oh, yeah,
So
this has been
they
going
had
on for
control for 40
decades.
years. But
Right.
when it comes to the congressional seats, the senators, even House members, but then again, we have gerrymandered seats. We have not elected a Republican senator since 1995. Every Democratic presidential candidate since Clinton, George H.W. Bush was the last one to win Michigan, regardless if they won the presidency or not, has been the Democratic nominee. Everyone. And then this is where we come in, to our the name of our show here, rigged by design.
It is.
Trump comes along and somehow squeaks Michigan out by just over 10,000 votes against Hillary. That you see, if you look at the population density map of Michigan, and you have it up here, right? And then here's the Upper Peninsula. Not a lot of people up there, right? There's like 2 districts up there, right? But everybody lives here. Everybody
And
lives here.
and I think you provided a map, on
Yep.
your pa earlier, and I actually took a look at it. I wish I could show
Oh,
it
I
to
I did
everybody.
post it here, didn't I?
Yes, you
Yes,
did.
I did.
Yes, you did. So, and it is posted on Substack here for everybody to take a look at the map. You know, there like in California, if you look at a map, you would be absolutely scared that we were a Republican state, because what you'll see is the blues being along the coastal lines,
Yep.
except in further north, and then it's surrounded by red. Well, that doesn't talk about the population density. So that just makes it seem like land votes. And I say land
Yeah.
doesn't
Land mass doesn't vote.
vote, right? But they do that to actually say, see, California is more red than you think.
Yeah, I know. They pander to the stupid people. And,
Right.
like, it's the same thing with Michigan. If you look at Michigan, it would look red because of the counties. I mean, you have counties north of me that do not have a lot of people in it, by any means. We have Kent County here, which is a blue county.
Mhm.
It took a while for it to, catch up, but Kent County did become a blue county. And we have Abdul here running for Senate against Haley Stevens. Haley Stevens is basically John Fetterman's, sidekick, wanting to run
Right.
for
Right.
the
Right.
Senate.
Yeah.
The
The
news come out,
sidekick.
John Fetterman said the deal breaker for me to leave the Democratic Party is stop in support of Israel. So
I'm
I
like,
decided to go through Haley Stevens' social media posts,
mhm.
and I looked on TikTok, some creators that she's willing to pay to talk about or good about her. So I go over on the Facebook, right? And I'm going through all her posts and I'm reading her comments. I found one with like 650 comments. Okay, let's check this out. And many of them, 2, 3, 4, 5, 600 comments, right? I went through them. I took an entire, probably 4 or 5 hours going through her posts. I am telling you that if a comment section was a poll, Abdul would be leading 90 to 10. 90 to 10. See, and you could say, well, you could have the argument, well, her posts are reaching the wrong audience. No, that's not. You know, she's paying for it.
Yeah, she's
She's
paying
paying
for
for them
them,
posts to
and so, yeah, they're not necessarily so.
I
Um,
found 3 comments in there in support of her. Out of 650 comments, I just posted a video on TikTok. I'll post it here after this. I found 3 comments in there that were, you know, in support of her. And I found one girl who started a TikTok yesterday, got 19 followers, talking, Haley Stevens will fight for Michigan, all the bulletin points that she wants them to talk about,
right.
you know, and whether, hey, you go, girl, get paid, right? Try get paid from her.
I I
The many are gonna beat the money in this state. I'm telling you, the polling is
I I
skewed.
I
There have been
really
people that have done deep dives in the polling and how they're leaving stuff out, age groups, orientation, income, stuff like that. They're just taking the good parts of it, putting it out there and saying, "Yeah, see, Haley's ahead 43 to 41." No, no. If everything goes fair, right? Well, she's gonna mop the floor with it. He's gonna mop the floor with her.
well, I truly hope so, but I'm also a little bit, circumvent in saying this. Um, my concern being is we tend to surround ourselves with like-minded individuals, and so what I'm seeing is a lot of support for him, but I'm not seeing a whole lot of support for her, but perhaps that's because of how my algorithms are pushing towards me. And so I wanna make sure that we're absolutely looking outside our particular bubble to get
Yeah.
understand the real
Well,
things.
I have a mega account.
Mhm.
My algorithm is nothing but mega. One on Facebook, one on TikTok, not one on here, right? So,
Right.
I do that as a reason to, see what's going on in the mega world or whatnot. And then my own lived
Right.
experience on where I live. I live in a highly populated area, not as populated as Detroit, Detroit
Mhm.
area north. But I live in a highly populated area, which is why he's come here, 4 or 5 times. He'll be here again Sunday with AOC and Bernie, just downtown Grand
Right.
Rapids. Um, and when I tell you, and you drive around, right, and you look at things, and I know this, like you know where you live. I know where I live like the back of my hand. And when I'm driving, what I know to be deep red areas of this county, which is in the north, right? And
Right.
I'm seeing dozens of Abdul for Senate signs. And I'm like, what? There's an area in Rockford, Michigan, which is highly, snobby, rich Republican area. There's
Mhm.
Abdul for Senate signs everywhere. And it's like people, and I think people
Yeah.
are finally catching on. They're fed up. They're fed up.
Mhm.
I had some guy tell me yesterday on Facebook that, we're talking about the free healthcare Israel has. And he
Right.
tells me yesterday that, well, no, their whatever their parliament, whatever they pay for it. I said, but who the hell built Israel? The American tax dollars built Israel.
Yeah.
Plain and simple. That's you're missing the point. And people are sick of it. And I can't justify, and this is where,
Well,
when
Israel at
Abdul
one
started, I
point
had a hard time. I'm like, do I
yeah,
if he loses, do
Israel
I cast my vote for Haley?
right. Israel started as what they would describe as a third world country. And that was
Yep.
the actual reason for giving them money when they first started. They're no longer
Aid.
a third world right. It was aid, and they're no longer a third world country. It should have stopped a long time ago. And we just continue to do it. I am scared about our military commingling with their military.
They're horrible. I'm not
Yeah,
saying all
it's
the Israeli people are, but
no,
I think a
I'm
lot of them
not
have been brainwashed.
Sorta like what some of the people here in America have been
Mega.
brainwashed. Yeah, so with that being said, it is happening on the extreme sides. It's happening with Zionism on the extremeness. It's extreme. It's happening over here with the MAGA on the extreme side, through Heritage Foundation. That's extreme
You know how
ideology.
you say mega light, right?
Mhm.
You call some candidates, they're Democrat, but they're really MAGA light.
Right.
I think MAGA here in America would consider MAGA light compared to the IDF and Israeli soldiers.
Mhm.
That is just the extreme. You know, the videos that I've seen of people interviewing people in the streets. There's just thousands and thousands of videos online of different people being interviewed all over Israel, talking about, you know, the Palestinian people and if you kill a Palestinian baby, he doesn't grow up to be a Palestinian Muslim. I'm serious. These and
That's
there
just
are good people. There are good people in Israel that don't, you know, that have
there
a
are a
heart
lot
and have morality and that fight
there are
against
many
this.
right, there are many good people in Israel. There are also many good people in Israel who are Gen Z, who are out there saying they don't even wanna serve in the military. They're out there deni refusing to go into the military. So they have their fight going on over there as well. And let me be clear to any of our audience members, I believe what they're doing is genocide, and I put it right out there each and
Yep,
every time.
with a capital
So
G, damn it.
r
It
right,
plain and simple.
plain and simple. But I did wanna go back to a point that you were making in regards to the races over in Michigan. I do want to point out to everybody, I believe there are 7 senator races that are taking place. And I will correct it if I'm incorrect, that are taking place during the midterms. Each one of those races, we need to be paying attention to and would be looking for some irregularities, things that are taking place. Trump will be going on tonight, 8 PM your time, 5 PM my time, will be going on tonight, and the attitude is he's gonna be talking about the SAVE Act, and he's gonna be talking about how the election wasn't secure in 2020 again. Again, you know,
And it
let's
would like the
continue to be
what did that some reporting said something about, you know, calling John Ossoff in Georgia, like that they're not legitimate, right? Right.
yeah,
But the
there
problem
it's gonna
is
be
they weren't
Georgia, it's
elected.
gonna
They weren't elected in
right.
2020. They were elected in like what, 2021 or something like that. He's gonna
So
the
what
reporting shows China, right? He's gonna blame
good
China, but
morning, Pat.
I think we're gonna swing back to Venezuela. That's what I think he's gonna try to do. I think he's gonna swing this.
Well, that'll
I
be
mean, I could be wrong,
interesting.
but I
That'll
think
be
he's
an
gonna
interesting
exactly. He's gonna tell on himself. It's just because he can never stay on script, not because he doesn't want to, because he's unable to, right? He's unable to read a full speech without going off script. Um, but I think you're gonna hear him talk about Venezuela, and if he does it, I'm telling you, how many chalk another one off for me. And I made another prediction in a video this morning about it, and I'm like, "Look,
I'm not I'm not
reporting's
sure if
coming
he's
out that
gonna
they're
be
not gonna
talk
seat new members come next year."
I'm not sure he's gonna be talking about Venezuela because that's been kinda out of the news cycle, but I may be wrong. I may be wrong. He may mix up the name, Venezuela with Iran.
Could be,
You heard about the mixing
could
up
be.
of the names with Iran and Japan.
Well, the reason why is remember, we've talked about how senators accept the data from Venezuela as cheating. Yep. Here, look, Democrats, Republicans alike on the Senate floor. Here you go. Here's the data. He's not a president. He's illegitimate. And you know, when they put them same methods to the United States election, what you know,
Yeah,
what
yeah, it can't
what?
happen here.
So
N
if he uses that to his advantage tonight to somehow bring it, here's what happened in Venezuela. You know, this is how they cheated, and this is what the Democrats are doing
well, that's
because
going
every
back
accusation is a confession.
every accusation, every single one. Now, which was what brings us up to, his last accusation. What was it about Lindsey Graham? He basically said,
Oh, frick, I don't know.
"Schedule,
Oh, after he died.
schedule." Right,
Oh yeah,
scheduled.
the schedule.
Now here
Schedule.
scheduled. Lindsey Graham, according to Trump, was scheduled, SC scheduled, to win the 2026 election.
Yep.
I don't know, he
The
didn't say
president's
bigger.
words matter, right?
Sch
And you people can say, well, blah, whatever. A president's words matter. And one thing about a narcissist like Trump, about always telling on himself in some way, shape, or form, is he just can't help it. And it's not to taunt people. It's not to give people conspiracies to go in their head, right? That, oh, look what he said here. Like I mean, look, he put an A here, an I over here, and if you add that A and that I, you get Z over here. No, none of that crazy shit, right? He's saying that for a reason. He said schedule. He was scheduled to win for a reason.
Absolutely. And so, basically, saying that it's
Yes,
predetermined. So,
those vote
schedule.
counting computers
Right,
specifically for a reason.
right, it's predetermined, basically. You know, it was already predetermined that he is going to win big,
Yep.
and so now they've gotta go back to the drawing board and figure out what the hell they're gonna do on that one.
Here's here's what my thought is. Um, okay, we all know we're not going to relive how he lost 2020. Okay, we all know that mail in and early voting. My thing is he was so pissed off that it was supposed to work, right? And then somebody finally he kept it going though, right? He's not letting it go. He did slip a couple times
Mhm.
over those 4 years of Joe Biden. When we lost the election, he slipped a couple times, right?
Right.
Uh, but for the most part, he's kept the lie going. He's kept it going for a reason. So my thought is somebody came to him or he thought of it himself. Well, we're going to use this now that we've won the election again. We're going to use this. We're going to use this against them. We're going to use what we're doing against the Democrats. And here's how we're going to do it. First, we're going to seize 2020 ballots, right? And I don't believe 2024 ballots in Wayne County, I don't believe that had anything to do with any of it. I just believe that had to do with the report from the ETA. That's my
Correct.
personal belief. That report come out, it finally got back to him, and he's like, "Oh, whoa, whoa, go get him," you
Right.
know. And they didn't let him, obviously, and they're still there. Um, but that's what I think it's just him um, doing what he thinks he's good at, and that is manipulation and deflection. And he's not good at it. He has never been good at it. Even though he thinks he's good at it, he believes he's an expert, but that's because he's a narcissist.
Yeah. Well, earlier this morning, just to get my little hiccup, as I was discussing with Jason, every morning I read. I read a lot every single morning. I go through Substack, I read a bunch of different articles. Well, earlier this morning, Rick Wilson, if anybody's unfamiliar with him, Rick Wilson is part of the oh my goodness, I want it, the Lincoln, the Lincoln Project,
Yep,
and he's a major writer, has over 500K subscribers. And
yep,
he actually wrote an article called, it's called, because it's referencing to Trump's speech, potential speech, what it's going to go to, How to Steal a 2026 Election. And so I clicked the article. Okay, what does he have to say about this? How to steal the article? Click it. And of course, it is paywall.
yep. I don't like that.
And and so my attitude became, what the fuck? Why are you paywalling this? This is something that we should know. So of course, I did my usual daily posting and I stated, okay, Day 357 days. For those of you who don't know, every day, some days I haven't done it, but I keep it up to date. Every day I have something to say about the 2024 election. I
Yep.
felt like the information was not getting out there. I was really frustrated and pissed off. So I came up with this daily thing that basically says, day 357, I'm all in. He didn't win. He tried to steal 2020. He did steal 2024. And the rig is in for 2026. Harris won, Trump lost. And then I asked Rick himself, I said, so you're warning about the 2026 midterms behind a paywall? If the public actually needs this information to fight rigging, why gatekeep it? Feels like you're informing, more like monetizing panic.
Yep.
And so it just kind of pissed me off to see that taking place. And so, hey, Kat, thanks for subscribing, by the way. Um, it
That's
it
why I
just
love
pissed me off.
this will hold. And when we were on with her last time, that's why I wanted to show her my appreciation because nothing is, behind a paywall. We understand that there are far more important things right now than making money off of, fear, anxiety, and election debt. Uh, just like the book about, nothing screams more America. We got all this information, recorded tapes inside the most secret room in the world, and but we're going to write a book, and you got to buy it to read it. So you're going to write about elected officials potentially talking about committing crimes, cover-ups, and all that stuff, and you want to sell it. And when I seen there's I don't know if you know who she is, Under the Desk News,
Okay.
right? She's on TikTok. She's blue check. She started
Hmm.
like I about the same time I did. We used to be
Hmm.
mutuals on my first account. She bought the book and she said, she did a video. She's like, I bought the book so you didn't have to. And I was glad to hear her say, you have all this information in this book. And she said kind of exactly what I said. Nothing screams more American than we're going to sell you information that could possibly, you know, to do with our democracy and criminal acts and cover ups. So I was glad to hear her say that because it's like, I never understood it. If you have information like Elon Musk's baby
Right.
mama, right?
Right.
I don't think she has any paywalls that I've seen. She's just like,
Nope.
nope, here you go. And that's what it should be. Those are the
Right.
people need to prop up. Nothing of mine will ever be behind a paywall. Ever. Ever. And if I ever do get in some creator fund on TikTok, I'm gonna tell people, yep, I'm in the creator fund. But last time I did that, which I was, uh, I made before my main account was banned, I made like $600 off this one video of this stupid girl and her stupid husband getting car payments and repossessed, and their car payments were more than my house payment. And I'm like, so I did a stitch video of her, and for some reason it got like 800,000 views. Great engagement, and I got like $600 off that video. My account was banned like that because I averaged 3 to 5 million views a week on that account
Right. Right.
before the big TikTok change. Because I
Before
think
the
people trusted me. I built up integrity. I was honest with people. This is my life. I'm not the smartest guy in the room, but I'm willing to learn. I will make mistakes, and when I make those mistakes, I will show you those mistakes. You know,
well, something that
hey,
I learned when I was in management as a HR professional is I learned to actually hire smarter people than myself,
yep,
you know, and that's what I always strive for, to hire somebody smarter than me, because that actually made me better at my job. So that was something that I actually learned to do early on. Um, and I looked for people like that. But I do find it interesting, and I just wanna, because today, this episode is unscripted. We have no topics that we decided that
we're
we're
just
gonna
shooting the shit, man.
basically, we're off the cuff, you know?
Anybody in the video, you got leave a comment. What do you? What's on your mind? What do you any questions you may have, we can answer. Please go ahead and spit it out in the comments.
Correct. But I do wanna go over so what I did find interesting today, in regards to my readings today, of course, everybody is talking about what Trump is gonna say this evening. And so one person actually did a write-up about, they feel the media is truly they feel the media has one job to do on Thursday night,
Yep.
and, um, and that is to be transparent and to finally tell the truth, but I doubt that the media is gonna be doing that. They're gonna continue to soft pedal anything that Trump puts out there.
Yep. And it's like, I know for some people that are still like on the fence, like I remember when I fell on this side of the fence. I truly do. I wasn't, and I'm still not a conspiracy theorist or any of that stuff, unless it's, aliens. We want to talk about that, we can. But,
Mhm.
when I fell on this side of the fence, I know there's still people that are on on the fence or just no way it can happen. They're like, it's some of the comments I get are kind of respectful in a way. Like, look, how can you say 2020 and 2024? He won 2020. Joe Biden won 2020, and Trump is claiming it was stolen. But then you claim Trump stole 2024 by the ways we explain it. It's just kind of, to some people it sounds contradicting until I tell them, you know, for the average person with good comprehension skills, or even bare minimum, that the difference between 2020 and 2024 for people that don't understand it is, one, we were in a pandemic, and two, 70% of the United States voted early or voted by mail. And those
Absolutely
ballots are counted separately from same day in person voting on election day. And they
correct.
did not anticipate 70% of this country mailing in or voting early.
And I think that also you need to remember in 2024 was different in regards to the number of bomb threats that took place.
Mhm.
So there was things that were going on in 2024 that did not necessarily take place in 2020. The other thing, and I do want to point this out, what if we flip the script? Basically say, yeah, 2020 was rigged. When you flip the strip, it was. When you fl
Yes.
when you flip the script, it was rigged, but guess what they found out? They found out everything that we had went for Trump actually should have gone for Biden,
Yep.
and that's
Yep.
how you know it was rigged. And so in those particular things, yes, Trump is correct. 2020 was rigged.
The election was stolen from him because it didn't work.
It just didn't work. It didn't work due to the mail-in ballots. So the thing is, he tried to steal it. He tried to steal it, but in this particular case, it didn't matter. So going right back to now the midterms, if you have the opportunity to mail in your ballots for the midterms, take that opportunity.
Yep.
Do mail in. There is a
Do not
reason
use a
why they
drop
are
box if you can't help it. If you can't mail it in and you got to drop it off, bring it to the clerk. Don't,
right. Bring it.
depending on where you live.
And so here in California, we have election boxes that we're able to, and they're usually by the public libraries, so that we're able to drop off our ballots. Therefore, you don't have to worry about the code, the postmark, I should say. You don't have to worry
Gotcha.
about the postmark. So the USPS postmark is something that you do have to worry about because depending on where you live, they can take several days before they postmark it. So if you live in a outwards and a non-urban area, my recommendation is to mail your ballot at least 1 to 2 weeks beforehand.
Yep. And that should answer for a lot of people too. Like, why is he so hell bent on going after mail-in ballots?
Mhm.
Why is he so? I mean, we've been using mail-in ballots forever. Why does he want
Correct.
to stop it? Unless you're overseas or whatever he says, vacation or disabled or whatnot. Uh, and that's the answer because the mail-in ballots are what cost him from stealing the 2020 election.
Correct. So, where I'm going with now is, yeah, when he says the 2020 election was stolen, um, it was not, it was a rigged election, but the right person ended up winning due to something else. They tried to steal that election.
Yes, they did. And
And
that's,
so they,
no, go ahead and finish, please. I'm sorry.
what about early in person voting? Mary, yeah, early
Yeah,
in person voting, that's
yes,
fine to do that.
they're kept
It's
separately.
important. Right. They're counts separately. So do that as well. Now, I do want to bring up something because I read also, it's up to us. Now, it's up to us has been doing they also been recording on elections irregularity. Some of their things I don't necessarily subscribe to, but they did bring up an interesting point. They brought up a point in regards to voting, to the voting county. Where are the votes actually coming from? You know, so they say they talk about votes disappearing, but where do they receive these additional votes? And they come up with what they describe as ghost votes. Now, the ghost votes in some areas have been maybe a few hundred, maybe not enough to do that. But what they're talking about is the actual numbers of these ghost votes, what these numbers will do, how they get slipped in. Now, the reason why I kind of go towards more this will hold methodology. This is important information. Maybe develop an informational card we can all screenshot and share. That's a great idea, Mary, and I'll try to do that, not today, but I'll try to create a informational card. I do work with, This Will Hold a lot. I am also part of the 2024 Exposing Election Coalition. You can also sign up over on there if you want to help us develop more informational things. But going back to what I was stating, flipping back to This Will Hold. This Will Hold is of the opinion that there's vote banks. And it makes me wonder, wait, maybe it's up to us, is really talking about some of these votes going into these vote banks. And the vote banks is actually takes place way afterwards at
After
the
tabulation.
correct.
So the numbers will match it, and
Right.
that's where I come in and I tell people, so they're like, "Well, explain it further. How do you know that when you go cast your in-person vote, um, the day of the election, not early votes or mail-in votes, but if you go vote on election day, like our primaries are August 4th, how do I know that my vote or my point actually went to the candidate that I cast it for?" It gets put in,
That's it.
everything gets tabulated. After tabulation, what they're saying and what the evidence is supporting is that they already have a vote bank here. So what they do is they take the actual vote banks, the actual votes, and they switch them out. So the numbers are exactly the same,
Absolutely the same.
but
And absolutely
the outcome is different.
correct. So the question we've been asking here, as well as within my notes, as well as within our posts, is a little bit of a different question: is how can we guarantee the person who I voted for actually received my vote?
Right.
That's the question we're asking. We're not asking, uh, does Jim Blow actually exist? We're asking, how can I guarantee my vote is going to where I want it to go?
Right. Because
And
you when you go look up your voting record, which everybody can do, it doesn't show you who you voted for. It just shows that you voted. That's it.
correct,
And what day that election was, whatever. It doesn't show who you voted for. So once they do this tabulation thing, and that's why audits won't catch it.
it won't
Audits
catch it.
will not catch it because the numbers are still the same.
Correct.
And the only way to truly find out is to do a hand recount.
That's the only way.
Yep.
That's the only way. And I don't have a problem. Many other countries do manual hand
Yep.
recounts. Many other countries. We do not. And we need to start asking the question, why? We need to become that 2-year-old toddler asking the question, why? Explain to me why we can't do this.
People have to remember that, I've said it often, the power of the people is greater than the people in power. The many will beat the money. That's, Abdul's thing, right? The many can and will beat the money. We, my wife and I are kind of rewatching Game of Thrones. It's kind of our thing. We love the series, the original one. And there's a scene in there from
I do not like
Pharaoh
6 or
time.
7.
We watched it probably like, I don't know, 15 times, the whole series. There's a scene in there where the sparrow is talking to the Queen of Thorns, Olenna. And by the way, she's my favorite character. I love Olenna. That she is like, you if I could, oh man, do I wish she was my grandmother? She's awesome, right? She's brilliant, man. She's so brilliant. Well, she's talking to this high sparrow, and there's a statement he says when they're in the set, and she's talking, "What do you want? Gold, money, power?" And he says, "I imagine this is strange for you, right?" And um, and he goes on and he's talking about how the people can overthrow a monarchy.
Right.
Once the people get fed up, and that's what we're seeing. It may not feel like it for people, and I've often said it as well that there is another side to this eventually, right? But that's what people are saying. That's what people, even in mega world,
Yes.
right? People are fed up. When I learned how long we had been sending Israel money, I was pumping videos out with receipts like crazy. And then that kind of sometimes I don't care if people copy me. That'll prompt other creators to make videos. Do it. And I tell them, make your videos. Let people know. And for 2 years
Please.
I've been talking about this.
Right. Please.
And it's more and more people are learning and agree with me, even in mega world, that how can you justify our tax money going to a country that does no longer need it, a country that has free health care, when we cannot care for every man, woman, and child in this country?
And I think everybody of our audience knows what your number one your number one thing, Israel right now. And so, yeah, it doesn't make sense. Um, for years in the 90s, and I would say early 2000s, I supported Israel, you know, but I no longer. And I no longer based upon education, based upon learning, based upon watching what's going on around me. Um,
It's such a tiptoe subject. Remember how tiptoey it was? What do you
yeah,
mean you don't support Israel? Oh my God.
yeah, yeah,
How dare you?
yeah. So it has been because Gen Z son was like, "Oh, how could you support Israel?" I was like, listen.
My education actually from Israel, I mean, I've been on TikTok since 2020. My
Right.
education from Israel started on TikTok, learning more and more about it.
Okay. All right.
You know, and,
I
and
knew quite a while ago.
It's same with, Black history. I learned
Right.
more about Black history on TikTok than I ever did in high school or elementary
Correct.
school.
Correct.
It's insane. And I can't emphasize that enough. It's like, and people don't, when they hear that, they're like, "Oh, how could you?" But look, we're not talking about people.
No.
We're talking about government.
We're talking about
We're
systems, and we're talking
Yes,
about, and this is where, but we're not just talking about the systems, we're actually talking about the systems and how they affect the individual. So this is what we do on Rig by Design.
yep.
We talk about the individual, the micro, and then we go into the macro, and then we go into the exo. Now, what I explain to people is I originally thought the exo is all on the outside, doesn't really affect me. But what we're saying to you is, yes, it
It
does
does.
affect you. And it affects you on an individual level. And if it may not affect you today, it's going to affect you tomorrow.
Like Abdul says, we live in the richest, most powerful country in the world. Why don't we have universal health care, universal child care, affordable housing, living wages? Every other country that's developed does, but we don't. And I see Mary wrote she had a question here in the comments about our politicians. They don't seem to be interested in the election security issue. They love to say go vote. We'll tell you the same thing. Please still go vote. But we all know about the vulnerabilities in the election infrastructure. Also, why did Kamala just walk away and hide? People need to ask her, especially if she's thinking about seeking office again. Thank you.
She she is
Well,
she is thinking
first,
about, wait a minute.
yeah, she is.
She is thinking about going for office again. You can tell this by the way she's reacting now. She's also talking about the election irregularities of what's been going on more recently. And you can find some of her postings on Substack. In regards to why she didn't protest the election, I cannot answer that question.
I think it's no different than Acton Bain in Tennessee. She was told by powers that be. Remember Acton Bain, and now afterwards she was running for that seat, and she made a video on TikTok afterwards, and she said, "Well, they tell me that there's no corroborating evidence,"
Mhm.
and I think that's the situation we're in here. Um, when it when it comes to the election security issue, what Mary's asking here, it's implanted propaganda, even in elected officials. How long have you heard the words free and fair, safe and secure? Our elections are free and fair, safe and secure. There's no way it can happen. It's done at the local level. The states control them. How long have you heard that?
And that's
Probably your
gaslighting us,
entire
by the
life.
way. That's gaslighting. When you
Yes.
understand the change of custody, you have to understand the chain of custody. Between it, you go in, you cast your vote. Okay, you cast your vote. You turn in your paper outlet. You cast your vote. Where
What does the
you're
machine say?
right. Pardon me.
What does the machine say? After you
It-
go cast your vote in person on a Dominion machine, we have them here. You put the paper in, it says your vote has been counted.
That's what
It
it says.
has not.
Not at that point. It has not.
Nope.
So it
So
has
there,
not. They didn't take all those numbers and put it into anything. When I um, worked at the booth of the elections, you know what we're not counting? We're not counting where the votes are going. What all we're counting is the number of ballots. That's all we're counting. The type of
yep.
ballot. It's whether or not it was a provisional ballot, in-person ballot, mail-in ballot. We're counting the types of ballots basically that we're receiving. That's it. That's it. We're not counting where the votes are going. We're not counting any of those things. That takes place at the next level. So, and
Tabulation.
at the tabulation level. And so, sometimes, and we don't know if our vote is going there. So, is there a possibility our vote going for somebody else that we did not vote for? It's very high, and they're not telling you that.
True. And Mary, you're right again. And that here's my other part of it, and this is just my belief. I don't know if Mary you'll agree with me on this or not, but I think part of it was to spare embarrassment. I think some the establishment, Chuck Schumer's and everybody, they don't want to be embarrassed by the fact that they let somebody hack our election systems after being told in 2020 that we had the most safest and secure election in history by Trump's appointed FBI director that Biden let stay in or whatever. So I think part of it is, to save face, to spare embarrassment. When
Or decorum. There was the other part. I do
Yeah,
remember Harris basically saying that they felt that it would do more harm to democracy. That was it. They would felt that we would do more harm to democracy
yes.
by asking for a recount.
Do you agree with that? I don't. I don't. I don't think it would. I think it would actually strengthen democracy to say, "Hey, this isn't what we're about. Look, we need to investigate this. We have to." And they could have put the right people on it. Joe Biden could have put the right people on it. Uh, you know, Merrick Garland, the disappointment he was, he could have investigated it, and they could have done it, but they chose not to.
There were a few things up until the election that I was upset about. One thing is how they minimized Project 2025,
Yep.
how Trump, the man who lies, every other word that comes out of his mouth is a lie. The man who lies basically stating that, oh, he didn't have no knowledge of Project 2025. He doesn't know what that is.
It's all a lie. We knew it. We knew it. We've known it from you know.
And so I was just like, and people bought it, you know? The MAGA bought it. They bought it,
I
hook, line, and sinker.
you know see. I now have, after everything that's happened. I think back to when Trump come down that escalator to today, right? And like for me, where I live in Michigan, uh, I have been I have been on this Abdul train since I first saw him. Since he had just under 1,000 followers on TikTok. I started writing there, writing his campaign, telling them to get him verified ASAP because the message he was sending was a strong one, and I knew it was going to start grasping. Right, I knew people were going to start grabbing onto it, and just like California, I know Michigan, I know the people of Michigan, and when they start hearing this after everything that's happened, they're gonna support this guy, right? And he started his campaign by saying things like, well, talking about our system is broken and Trump isn't the reason for it. He's just a symptom. I
Mhm.
wrote his campaign and I said, listen, I understand what you're trying to say, but that doesn't go over well. You're saying Trump is not, he's just a symptom of our broken system. But to me, as a regular individual, that's not going over well with me because Trump is the very symptom that has shattered our democracy, that has shattered our republic and the norms that we've used, that has shattered precedent in the Supreme Court. Trump is the reason for all of this. And ever since that I don't take credit for it, but ever since I sent that email, um, he stopped doing that. And I'm glad he stopped doing that because I don't think that would have resonated well with people for him to say that Trump was just a symptom of our broken democracy, of our broken republic, right? He's the main symptom.
He he may be the symptom, but he has caused more atrocity,
Yes,
you know? So the symptom may not be absolutely the right term, I would
right.
say.
And
Uh,
I am so excited. I have never been in my life excited to go cast a vote for somebody.
I'm
I,
glad
I
to
am
hear
never. And when I
it.
met him the first
I just
time,
want
and I'm
count.
hoping I'm hoping I get to go see AOC and Bernie on Sunday. I RSVP. I'm talking to the wife about it. She's got to work Monday morning, so I might just go by myself if I can. Uh, you know, AOC, who I think would be a good candidate to run in 2028.
Mhm.
Personally, that's just my personal belief. to see him and Bernie and AOC and a local official we have here in Grand Rapids, and of all places, at the DeVos Hall. Does that name sound familiar?
Well, we know who. Yeah,
Yes,
Department of
yes.
Education, DeVos, who
It's going
really
to be a
fucked over
packed house.
education back in 2016 through 2020.
Yeah,
That DeVos,
right. Yes,
so.
and you know who Jess Craven is, right?
Mhm,
On Substack here, and she's on TikTok. I think she's out in California as well. Maybe she's got Jess Craven. She's on
m
TikTok. I know somebody can help find her on here. She does a lot of videos
I do a
calling her
lot of
local
long
officials.
form. Remember
Um,
the way you and I learn information, I do a lot of long form reading,
yeah,
so.
and she does, she does that too. She's an incredible woman, right? She does her reach. She's intelligent. She's smart. She does it. She did a video the other day, and she's like, "I've seen this. I haven't really been paying attention because she's not in Michigan, right? Abdul
Mhm,
El Sayed, he's popping up everywhere, and I seen him do this interview where he was talking on CNN or something, and I seen that book in the background, and I'm like, look, my wife thinks I know that book. I got it right here.
mhm,
Medicare for All. He's the co-author.
yes, right.
And so, to have her give him a bump like that, I was like, "Oh, awesome, awesome." And if you haven't read the book, um, I highly suggest I got the
I
audio
read the book.
version,
Mhm.
and for people and mainly centrist, Republicans are, but the centrist establishment, their response to this is it's a pipe dream, right? It's a pipe dream. It's not. It's not a pipe
No,
dream.
it's not.
It's not.
That's
You know what it is? It's simple math. That's it. It's simple math. How do we pay for it? Numbers. Taxing the rich.
it's real easy to tax the rich, but
But
instead
not
we
just
give 'em I believe I read the number from, because the ugly bill law, has recently given $103 billion within the last year, tax cuts
yep.
for the
See?
rich. $103 billion. Yet again, when something we were discussing earlier is they took away from SNAP, you know? You got,
Yep.
single working mothers who previously qualified for SNAP no longer qualify for SNAP due to bureaucracy and the new paperwork.
Right.
They just cut them off, you know? Disabled people who used to qualify for SNAP no longer qualify for SNAP,
Nope.
again, due
Because they
to.
make too much money. Think
Yeah,
about that.
yeah,
Because he lowered the
threshold,
threshold
threshold,
for it. But see,
right.
here's the thing about what people are like, well, he's not going to get it accomplished, whatever. He's going to fight for it. It's not about whether it gets accomplished. He's talking more. It's not about taxing these billionaires, right? What he's about taxing their wealth. We need to tax their wealth.
Yeah, because you can have Jeff Bezos who can claim $82,000 a year for payroll in order one, he doesn't make a maximum contribution to Social Security at $82,000 a year, and that's
No,
all he pays taxes on is $82,000 a year. So, with that being said, yes, we have to tax billionaires' wealth. And it's not like they're not going to no longer be a billionaire, by the way.
right. And that
You
I
know,
love it when he does that. Abdul's
yeah,
like that. He said, here's the thing: when we tax billionaires and we tax the billionaire wealth, they're still a billionaire.
they're still
he, get-
billionaire.
he gets
Yeah,
all
yeah.
he's all
That,
into it, and I
eh,
love it.
that's the reality of it, you know. But that brings me up because we're coming up to the conclusion. Is am going to have a new series coming out, and it is about the billionaire board, and it will be a four-part series. So that's going to be coming out real soon. I'm working on part one right now, and it's in regards to the land. wrapping it all the way back up to the beginning, to the land, the amount of land that billionaires actually own, and
Yeah.
how that in itself is a disparity to the land that all the rest of us own. So my first part is going to be actually on land, and then I'm going to be moving towards water. And so there's a lot of interesting things that's coming out of this particular research. So I'm hoping everybody will have an opportunity to pull it up and subscribe to me. Now, also, originally we talked about subscriptions. I do not paywall my stuff. I will never paywall my stuff. But I'm also doing a lot of research. So if you can pay for a subscription, that would be most helpful. It also helps me maintain my press credentials. My press credentials I have to pay for every year. I'm hoping that I get enough money through paid subscriptions that I can just buy a lifetime press credentials and not go through this every freaking year.
There you go. There you go.
So if you're willing to pay for subscriptions, that's great. And the one thing that I am willing to do for paid members is if you have a FOIA request, send it over to me because I can ask for free as having my press credentials.
Awesome.
So just send it over to
Hey, I
me.
have one. Epstein files.
Actually, I can be a pain in the neck and I can ask for
Right.
it in different areas, but
Right.
so I can do that. And I just wrote it
So,
down. So
final
to
thoughts. My
final
final thought for
thoughts.
today. I'll let you. You can end. But my final thoughts for today is that there's a viral video going around of this young man, probably Gen Z, and he's like, "Why are we attacking billionaires? Why are we attacking billionaires? The billionaires did create the jobs. Blah 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 blah. Right? Sympathy for
Oh God.
billionaires." So, um, I want to use Shark Tank as an example. Billionaires don't create jobs. Billionaires buy shit from people who actually build the product to create the job. Shark Tank is the perfect example of that. You know, people's lives have certainly changed on that show. Uh, you know, whatever idea it may be for a shirt or a Ring doorbell, for example,
Mhm.
that was a Shark Tank thing. And now look, right? It's not the billionaires that create the jobs. It's the people that have dreams. And that's what America's supposed to be about. You can't do that anymore because it's so fucking costly to do anything. If I wanted to, like the one good thing I was good at when I was young was I was good at operating a bar. We were at 456% profit, right? If I could go open a bar, I would probably do it, but I can't because everything costs so much money. And in order to do that, I would need investors, right? And that's where I think there's such a stark contrast in what the American dream is you can't do anything without a billionaire investor, meaning they want to put their grubby paws, including Mark Cuban. I don't care what he did, cost plus drugs, all that shit. He's still a billionaire. He's still a fucking billionaire. He still wants to put his grubby little paws in everything he can to make money off it. If he truly wanted to help the American people, he would truly help the American people.
Well, Mark Cuban lost my respect when it came to Ukraine and the mineral rights over in Ukraine, and he was all for it. And the moment I found that out, I was done with him. So
And
that
money
point,
doesn't equal intelligence.
correct.
Period. The
So,
end.
and
My final thoughts.
he had many justifications of why it would be right for us to have the Ukrainian mineral rights. Yeah,
Mm.
yeah. So I was done with him on that particular point. And then Mr. Wonderful, who's not so wonderful, the Canadian, thank you, who's not so wonderful, because I've just recently had this discussion with my son, who does like Shark Tank. He likes Shark Tank because he likes all the ideas. He does not necessarily like what the
Right.
investors do to these individuals and how money grubbing that they are.
Yep.
He's of the opinion, you know, 5% would be good, but most of the time, one time they wanted 50% of this person's company.
Happens all the time,
Yeah,
and some of them give in, some of them don't.
yeah,
It's that's not the American way. That's not the American dream. I mean, if you want to build some, like the company I used to work for example, it was called Payne Enterprise. It was the second largest dry ice and CO2 supplier in the Midwest,
mhm,
here in Michigan, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio. Um, Jack Payne, he started it. He started it out of the back of the station wagon. Then he bought some property. When he made enough money and he put some single wide trailers for offices on the property,
right,
he built this business from the ground up, right?
right.
Then it time for him to go. He retired. He hands it off to the kids. The kids, they just had to have a big fancy fucking building, right? Second largest dry ice and CO2 supplier in the Midwest. We got to have this big fancy building now. After that happened, after they purchased that building, guess what happened? This was in 2004, by the
Some
way.
investor came in and said,
No,
"Hey."
no, we cannot. I went from getting back then getting a $500 Christmas bonus in the early 2000s,
Right.
good, right? To the following year, a turkey. We wanted to make a turkey. Oh, the cost of mailing a turkey, so we'll just give everybody $50 because the cost of
National
that
Lampoon
building destroyed the business. The
National
cost of that building destroyed it.
but they also were greedy too.
Yeah.
They're probably getting more bonus than you, but it
Oh,
reminds
sure.
me of the National Lampoon's Christmas
Yeah.
Vacation.
They sold it. They had to
Right.
sell the CO2 part, so they ended up selling the CO2 part, the liquid CO2, the fizz in your pop, everybody, that's where it comes from.
Mm,
Um, and they sold that part off, then they ended up having to sell the dry ice part. So, he built this he had, like, 75 years in this,
yeah,
and it was gone within a couple years because of kids that wanted a
more.
not just greed, but they wanted an image.
Yeah,
Jack didn't give a shit about image. He's like, "These customers don't give a shit where it comes from."
right.
They did. So, yeah,
Yeah, and that's a problem with the society that we live in right now.
yep,
We do live in gotta keep up with the Joneses. We do live in this sort of society, but that's where we have been brainwashed
yep,
into believing capitalism is the best, and capitalism is not. Capitalism has led us down this particular path. Capitalism has led to, as Dina would say, a billionaire is going to be a billionaire.
yep. Can you imagine had Reagan not did the tax cuts where we would be today?
You and I will be in a much better situation.
Yeah, yeah, we would. It would be glorious.
So would you, Mary, Joe, Isaac, myself, Christine, Kelly, Lizzie, Dina. We will all be in a better situation than
Yes,
what
we
we
would.
are right now. So thank you everyone for joining us. We were off the cuff today, no script. We will be back next week. I hope you can come and join us again next week, and I will send out my notes. Great to see you again, Kelly, and looking forward to everybody. Everyone stay safe. Take care.
See ya. I never